This event is brought to you by World Pro Racing, the Malta Motorsport Federation, Game Breaker Malta, GMR Entertainment, WJ England and Son, Melita, Media Looks, Restream.io, Gaming Malta, VisitMalta.com, and TVM Sport.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real. Two weeks have proven two very similar results. 2 weeks which found some brilliant racing, some brilliant runaway drives, and two very commanding victories. Although they say it's casual, there is still a lot of pride at stake. And here, when we get to Spa-Francorchamps, when we get to these casual races here on World Pro Racing, on YouTube, on Facebook Live, on Twitch, on motorsport.tv and TVM Sport, with association from the Malta Motorsport Federation and Game Breaker Malta, this is going to be something truly fantastic. I'm Jake Sperry, joined alongside by Nicholas Hillebrand, Justin and Nathan Mifsud on the directing for the cameras here today, with Adrian Fagaio, the Chief Race Director, and George Muscat, Chief Steward, both FIA accredited. This is the third race out of 5. We've got a race on the 1st of July and the 8th of July to come after this. But to bring you very quickly into the conversation, Nicholas, 2 races down so far, 2 very dominating victories, and now we are starting to look at race 3. Will the story be the same? Or will we see a closer scrap between those at the top of the timing stands?
Hello, everyone. Of course, it is going to be a very interesting race once again today. Earlier, as we were preparing for this, I could already see another Beetle in the race lobby for today. So that certainly left an impression in the race that we had 1 week ago, which got aborted and then postponed to yesterday. And, yesterday there wasn't much change because Windy in the Beetle, he was really the commanding force. But, of course, Windy is not here today, so it's going to be very interesting to see if others can use the Beetle as good as he did, or if others can maybe use the Audi as good as Kyokodo did in the first race.
Well, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how all these drivers are going to bring themselves to the forefront. But in terms of talking about what happened one night ago, well, here is a little thing for you to show you just what did happen when it came to racing one night ago. We look over to the race and you're going to be seeing these drivers up onto the grid in just a moment's time here on Gran Turismo Sport. They can see lights flashing there from the driver there at the front. Windy on pole, Luca second, Simiana in third, Ivan fourth, and then you got Bertu, Tingu, Tiku, and in 8th place as well. You can see there at the back we have lost one driver here in terms of getting themselves ready to race. 15 laps they have available to them, and they've got this very, very short formation lap get everything all worked out and sorted. Through the final chicane, of course, this is all automated the way that they go around this section. 3, 2, 1, and now they get their chance to go as this second community race, this casual race, gets itself underway. All clean at the moment as they head on through all 8 drivers, from the Beetle starting at the front to the Porsche starting at the back, as they make their way through immediately, looking at drivers who are going to be closest to that 4th and 5th battle right now, as Bertu and Ivan start to close themselves up. But a nice clean start, as per usual, that we see in this sort of series, and the gaps already starting to form. That's half a second in the opening 2 corners already for Windy.
And that's always going to be the thing, you know, as a driver starting in first, you know, you have nothing other to focus on than your own racing line. And as Ivan gets a slowdown penalty here, as well as Bertu, so both of them a little bit too aggressive there on the track limits, just coming up radio. And they're both going to be trying to get rid of those as quickly as possible. Oh, side by side, looking just on the outside. Very, very brave there from Tiku. Just as he tries to do a bit of an alternating line there, and he's side by side now down the Camel straight, and he has the overdrive actually. He's overlapping already, and now on the outside of him. Can he get the braking right? No, Team Good Racing wants to peak, but he just quite can't. The brakes of that Beetle are really good, and a bit of a power slide there coming through the middle of Lacombe.
Tiku still holding that gap to Team Good just behind. Different types of vehicles. It's been a case of 2 types near the front, and it's been Audis versus Beetles at this stage, and at the moment it is the Beetle who is on top here in both battles that they've been having. This could be the chance. What a run off of the exit right now. Zoluka very narrow here. That allows Simiana down to the inside. It wasn't defended by Zoluka, who's looking to try and get this one a little bit later on. So Simiana up into 2nd position, but at what cost? Because the gap is already up to nearly 7 seconds, if not 7 seconds already. But there you can see Zoluka in 3rd position, and there behind is Ivan, just 0.4 of a second heading up the hill. And this is where the Toyota starts to really find its groove compared to the Audi. Round the outside, not much you can do about this one. That Supra absolutely moved, and Ivan up onto the podium in 3rd place. These corners, though, is where the Audi's going to come into play. But Zoluka clearly struggling here when it comes to lap 4 on the tyres, using up the tyre life more than the competitors.
Oh my goodness, that is a very big mistake there. Oh.
And saves it, but side by side they remain. So at the moment, 2nd and 3rd at it at the moment. Get a replay for you. Simiana, huge slide, 1, 2, into the side there of Ivan, going on through. Fortunately, no penalties for contact between them. Simiana back into 4th. Zoluka was thinking about 2nd, but Ivan, just for the time being, keeps himself into 2nd place. And this fight now finds itself 12 seconds off of the race lead. So Ivan in 2nd, Zoluka in 3rd, and there in 4th position is Simiana. It happens just like that. Click of her fingers, and that's why the corner that formerly had no name, now known as Jackie X, is so difficult. Now look at the chase, look at how the draft is so strong right now. Look at the hole being punched by the Toyota so that the German engineered Audi can get close through the Blanchimont corner, as we see from the rear tray at this point in time, looking for the move. This is a lunge down the inside from Zoluka, trying to slow it up. Can't get it done on the inside. Contact nose to rear there from Simiana going through, but ultimately they will go on for their 5th lap.
We'll have Simiana again looking for the move on Zoluka, which he gets done very nicely. But Simiana got under pressure before, and Zoluka knows that as he breaks on the outside, and they touch again. But Zoluka makes it stick very brilliantly there, as they now head out of Lacombe, and Simiana sliding over all 4 tyres.
Then what an undercut this is, fighting for 2nd, pitching that lap earlier, and now all of a sudden, side by side up Rouge and Radion. Why don't we? Wide will have to go Ivan through this section. Has he got any penalty for that? But Bertu there, absolutely magnificent. 1 second penalty for Ivan to now try and serve down, but now nose to nose they'll go again, up the Camel straight, and Ivan will be looking back for the inside here on lap 6 of the event. On the brakes he goes, and he sends it in nice and deep and tries to get this one done. 2 bits of contact as they go through, but Ivan is clear. 2nd, 3rd and 4th now in a train. Here's Jaluka, though, trying to go down to the inside at Campus Corner. No door open there, so Jaluka will have to just play that waiting game here as we're into the second third of this Shakespearean race, some would say at this point in time, looking to try and have some brilliant battling here. It's plain sailing at the front, but this scrap second, third and fourth, now we got a new character into the mix. But the key here for Bertu is 1 lap older tyres. At some point, Bertu's got to do a 6-lap stint, and the fuel numbers are going to be interesting because a lot of those drivers who did 5 laps on their stint, they did not have much fuel remaining in the car. There is your race leader, Windy, 13 seconds clear at the front of the field in the VW Beetle Group 3 car, looking to make some progress here with a 2:11 on the outlap. So that one working nicely, going on through, coming out of the pits with a good set of speed to move on forward. Ivan in second, Bertu currently in third position right now, and they can see side by side to Buhon Corner. Jaluka down the inside. That's a what I would call a not grade 1 place to make an overtake. That was a little bit out of the book. You don't see too many moves at that corner, a double apex left. Normally you need to capitalize on a mistake to make that happen. Jaluka, fantastic in finding an unorthodox place to make the move. I think the tyres have hit the cliff for Bertu. He's lost 2 seconds in half a lap, and here looks Simiana, flash of the light, trying to say, come on, let me go. I'm going to get down the inside. The Audis are third, fourth, fifth, and sixth right now. And Simiana looking on the brakes on the inside. Can't quite get it past Bertu right now. Tags that inside cone, moving on forward. And now really trying to open up the exits of these corners, trying to get aggressive. Bertu, a little wiggle coming off the exit. The rear tyres will be the ones that will be hurting the most around this place, mainly because there aren't so many tight hairpins to go on through. It's the rears that will struggle, and now you're starting to see here how much pressure Simiana's putting in. Another little bit of a wiggle going through, but Simiana again with the tyres, and round Simiana goes. Just like that, and it was the same issue that we saw at the back end of the first stint. That corner, the balance not quite right, and round Simiana goes. In comes the race leader, though, to make that stop here on lap 10 out of 15 in the Beetle. There's the crew sitting, waiting, hoping to hit the marks absolutely nicely. And now this automatic pit stop will come into play. The tyres will be put on, the fuel will be registered into the vehicle, and then straight away he will go. At this stage, you remember, is trying desperately to get his race back on track, but may just have to stop one more time. Slow, very slow, trying to serve the penalty as much as possible. Jaluka serves all of it down at the chicane there, the final chicane, and that means that he falls behind by 1.2 seconds.
Jaluka pulls side by side, and the once almighty Toyota not able to pull with the Audi there, just staying straight on the rear of him, but the Audi's just gone.
Hold your breath, because Ivan may just try and come back under brakes. Going to take a big wide line here, and Jaluka now up into second place and trying to run away from the Toyota, and just like that, the gap becomes 0.8 of a second.
Windy just not making a mistake, just staying clean, staying in his own little, comfort zone. And from start to finish, no mistakes. So really a fantastic race from him.
Out on circuit, absolutely fantastic speed. You can go through this section. And one final chicane remains for Windy, who, through all of everybody racing incredibly hard, will now see the checkered flag with a fantastic victory, dominating as always. Windy in full control, picking up the second win here in the casual races. It'll be a long wait to Jaluka, who's struggling here towards the end. Ivan has closed up over the course of this lap. There's been a mistake somewhere, the gap down to a 10th. Here comes Ivan, has to be aggressive around the outside to make this one happen. Has he got the nose for the inside for the next part? No, is the answer. Jaluka with enough. Better with the Audi, and that is a case of a scare for second, but Ivan will pick up third behind. Simiana will come along with fourth place over the line, and with Edwin 1 lap down classified in the pits, having to stop 1 lap short. This will be Team Good finishing it off in 5th place. Bertu on the 3 stop will get 6th, and Tiku will come along with 7th place come the end, but confirmation of Windy's win, which was unfathomably unquestioned throughout the entirety of 15 laps, Nicholas. And there we've seen just how amazing racing was just one night ago on a Tuesday night. Here, though, on the traditional night for these casual races, the 5 of which we're having, it's Wednesday. And what we'll be seeing here in the next few moments is a look towards practice and getting everything all set up and ready to go as we go over to live pictures right now and seeing a car of Gianluca going spread eagle sideways is the right way to go, as blue there at the moment, currently coming over the line in the Audi, is going to look to go on and get another lap of practice in the book. But this is going to be something quite interesting to see how these drivers are going to really push on from week to week to week to try and get themselves up as high as possible in the order. It's got a larger field already from what we had a week ago, already 10 drivers here today in the field at the very least. So see drivers look to make this push. Excel, for example, right now, Nicholas, running here in the Porsche, trying to make that one work out. Porsche, in terms of manufacturer, didn't have much representation last week, but also found themselves at the back of the pack. So what can Excel find from what has been mixed fortune for the RSR 911?
Yeah, it seems that it's not the car of choice here, but maybe they will be able to turn things around a little bit. I saw, with the person doing the bit unconventional racing line into the chicane, and with Excel here on track, that we have at least 2 of the Porsches on the track right now. So already twice the representation of last week, and already, 10 cars instead of 8, if I remember correctly. So we're looking for 2 more cars than yesterday, and 2 more cars sometimes can make a whole lot of difference. Another thing that can make a whole lot of a difference is the GT Omega ART cockpit, of which World Pro Racing is doing a giveaway to all residents of Malta. You can all take part if you haven't taken part yet, and if you win a great GT Omega ART cockpit with an RS9 seat, so a comfortable sitting position for you while you do your racing here.
Exactly, and to get that, you need to go to worldproracing.com and find yourself a chance to enter the giveaway. And of course, we'll get ourselves some fantastic work coming up. If you haven't already, like, share, subscribe, follow, do whatever you need to with World Pro Racing. There are so many amazing events that go under the World Pro Racing sphere, and so much more will be coming up in the pipeline. Now, what we have been talking about in all of these races that have been going on, Nicholas, as we look at Gian at the moment, looking to try and make a push at this point in time, what we have been talking about has been how this is effectively your benchmark for 2021. We talk about a lot in the pipeline. It's about now looking towards the FIA Motorsports Games, Malta's representative for the tournament. And what we see right now is these early stages. These casual races are pretty much what we would call form guide. Whoever's quickest, whoever's got some great speed, they are the form guide to look out for over the next year or so as we build ourselves up towards more great racing, as Sean right now drives about in the Beetle.
Yeah, I think it's a quite good situation to find yourself in these casual races. As it is casual races, you can just jump in without too big of, an expectation from you. But at the same time, it's a very good place to prove yourself, to show for the first time, hey, this is a guy to watch out for. And Windy and, Kyokodo, they've done that very brilliantly so far. And I'm sure that a lot of people that we still haven't seen race, they are all very, very keen on doing the same thing as we watched Tankard here, now going through Piff Puff with another Audi, and a bit loose there. Maybe not going to do that in the race later, but yeah, I think it's all about, for now in practice, it's all about finding your limits here before you start attacking the track in qualifying.
This is Dave we're looking at, taking a very aggressive line there up Eau Rouge and Radion. You could see there just backing out of it on the brakes, hoping not to run into any troubles. The car behind him on track at the moment is Zelinu, and this is a key fact about Zelinu at the moment. Was due to race last night with everything that was going on, but ultimately dropped out right before the race started. So I believe by this matter of fact, this will be a compensation, so to speak here, Nicholas, and getting a second chance.
I think, when it's last minute, there's always going to be that very frustrating thing when stuff doesn't work out last minute. I think Zelino felt that last night, probably. If I remember correctly, last week he seemed to be one of the very promising guys as well to be challenging for the top spots, so I'm pretty sure he's very, very keen on showing just what kind of pace he can put on here. And in the Audi, which has been proven to be a very consistent and fast car around this track, I think he has the best material to do this.
I certainly think he has an opportunity. A power cut, ladies and gentlemen, was what prevented him from racing last time out. So that would be a chance for Zelina to get back into the swing of things and move on forward as we find ourselves just about 8 minutes away from qualifying starting here at the moment. This is Blue Body making a charge up the hill right now, up the long and fabled Kemmel Straight, looking towards the Lake complex. It's interesting to see who's trying out what right now. The driver in 8th place, Darkart, at this stage in time, I just noticed on the timing ticker, has gone on to a set of medium tyres here in practice, so it's going to be interesting to see. What we have been seeing in terms of the times is 1 second's difference between the tyre compounds, but at exactly the same time, that soft tyre seemingly goes off at a rate of about a second a lap.
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite interesting to see the different approaches here. I think when we look at Dankart, he will definitely be trying to do a different strategy than we have seen so far, because I'm pretty sure that in the pit stops, even if you're limited by the fuel time, he may be trying to double stint tires and therefore have a much shorter pit stop, at least for the first one maybe. And, having that this sort of gap, that you can just completely jump in the shortness of your pit stop, that would be a very good strategy to make, especially since you don't get caught up in traffic after the pit stop, since you just jumped them all.
That's certainly going to be key, but what we're going to do for you right now, with a few minutes to go and a lot of dramas happening there for Gianluca and co as they head through the double left of Pujon, is we're going to take you on with a look on last night's winner, that one being Windy, and we're going to go for a lap around the track here in terms of what this Spa-Francorchamps circuit has available in the offing. We'll be getting that to you in very next moments, if not right now, as we see here at this point in time. This is a lap around this place on the brakes, the last horse hairpin in the VW Beetle, and you can see that small dip right of turn number 1 often leads to being able to hold around the outside, and very few corners have on camber. That is one of them that does. Now the most scariest part of the circuit, through the left of Eau Rouge, the right here of Radion, and up the hill through the small left kink. You can't cut too much, you'll lose an entire second in terms of penalty, and then this small flick right onto the Kemmel Straight. The fastest part of this circuit, moving towards Leicu, Malmedy and Bruxelles, which is coming up to start the second half of the lap. And in terms of a rise up the hill, at this point, this is where you get flat. Through Malmedy, putting the power on, trying to get through the next section. Bruxelles comes up next, and Nicholas, the second half of the lap, pretty much just as awe-inspiring as the first.
Yes, of course. It's a very nice spot here, because just after you get through Bruxelles and Lecum, and now through the former no-name corner, Jackie X corner, it goes from that section of, the circuit going completely uphill to downhill, as we now brake for turn number, whatever turn number this is, because everyone knows the corner name here, it's Puon, and now going down the very flowing line into Piff Puff, or Campus, that very tight chicane here, much tighter than you think when you first go into it. A lot of people overshoot it at first. And now going to Stabilo, almost at the point where the old Grand Prix circuit, the old public roads, rejoined the normal circuit that we have here, through Corf Paul Frere, and here on the left, that tarmac runoff, that used to be public road, where where it goes back onto this circuit, and now completely back in the original. Going through this last left kink and now into Blanchiment. Also a very frightening corner, simply because you can mess up by hitting that curb too hard, and even with the runoff there, it's very frightening. Hard braking into chicane, over the right-hand curb here, very hard over the right-hand curb, and left-hand curb as well. Opens the steering and gets a great drive out of the chicane to complete the lap.
A fantastic lap then by Windy. Am I the only person, Nicholas, who actually prefers one of the older chicane layouts? Of course, not the old chicane layout that used to run, say, in the late 90s, early 2000s, where it was a very scary left-right at high speeds, but more rather the very slow, elongated bus stop, almost like it's had a bit of a height extension as Blue Body's going to take a nice little escape there off onto the runoff area. Herman Tilke, of course, putting a lot of help into those sorts of areas of the circuit. But what I love about that final chicane is maybe the likes of that old bus stop, which was a very slow left into a very slow right, which allowed more overtaking opportunities. Plus, it allowed that cross-back opportunity, as there is a penalty being served. And as we see right now here, just an example of how to serve a penalty. Dankart getting a big tap on the side as he goes through by Blue Body, going on to start another lap.
Yeah, there's been quite some iterations of this chicane, and for me personally, I think it's actually the original one which tears at my heart the most, simply because it used to be, the true meaning of bus stop. You pull over to one side for a second, very slow down, and then with maximum acceleration, you go through that second part of the chicane, and it just, especially in the rain, it just used to be such an iconic look. Also looking back at the FIA GT races, of course, with the old GT1s. And yeah, I think now it's definitely a better overtaking opportunity. But, the flow of the old chicane is certainly something that a lot of racing fans hold dear at this circuit.
Certainly, and one thing that I find unique is actually what's going to be happening with the Spa 24-hour happening later this year, because it falls, of course, on natural time changes, which happen twice a year. The clocks go forward or back. Clocks will be moving on back for this year's 24-hour race, so that's going to mean a 24-hour race going 25 hours, Nicholas.
Yeah, it's quite interesting when I saw the headline, the 24 hours of Spa will go for 25 hours. But yeah, it's not the first time that a 25-hour race has been held at Spa-Francorchamps. The Fun Cup series does that from time to time. They build their cars up on the very old Beetle chassis. So actually quite similar, just older. Oh, as we see Charles just having a bit of an off there in the middle of Pouan. But yeah, quite similar to the new Beetle concept that we have in this very field right here. And also, oh, that's a very nice bit of variation that we have with John Varro here. A BMW M6, we haven't seen that in the last week.
No, we certainly haven't. There was a BMW, I do believe, earlier on in week number 1, but there to see a BMW. This will be a very interesting little scrap to see how well John Varro is going to do with racing around this place. You can see on the brakes, just trying to find a nice steady rhythm as we'll be moving over to qualifying in the next minute or so, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of drivers trying to practice everything that they can, maybe a full stint, a full run. So one driver there on hard compound tyres out on track. So that's certainly going to be very, very interesting to see what sort of strategy is going to be employed from these drivers. They know that they are going to be fuel limited for today's race, and that was something very, very entertaining to see last time out, how well the Toyota was able to hold the fuel as qualifying is about to begin for everyone. We've got 15 minutes on the clock, and everybody's going to be trying to get out there and racing as quickly as they possibly can, get their laps in.
And already we could see just now, as we had all the tire displays up, Dankart is actually going on the medium tires, so definitely not sticking with the main strategy as it seems. I'm quite excited to see if he will actually make that work, as we have the first cars just heading through Radillon here. Very nice angle, of course, not too different to the one when you actually, stand down there at the track. You just see the cars flying up then in the night. That's a very spectacular thing to see. And Blue Body Boy, I think he's just, letting his tires cool down a little bit, letting himself fall back a little bit to get some space for himself to run his lap as clean as possible.
It's all about just leaving that space here in the opening stages. There's a lot of disparity in terms of the times. We've seen that over the first 2 races, and there's been a nice little change of cadence, change of pace between driver to driver. So we'll see who puts themselves in the best possible position when it comes to this race, and I think it's going to be a very interesting qualifying indeed if we get a nice change of times coming in on the board. What was key over the first 2 races that we saw, that qualifying times, the pole sitter has gone on to win the race with 2:15 and 2:16 lap times. Those are the sorts of times where you're knocking on the door and saying, well, hello, we've arrived. Will we see times similar? Will we see them faster? Will we see them slower? The only time we're going to find that out is in the next few moments, as drivers will make their way through the right-hand corner here of Stavolo and on towards the next section of road to go on and start their first flying lap.
If I'm correct, we also have 5 different cars here today. So the Beetle, the Audi R8, the Porsche 911, and the BMW and the Mercedes. So it's going to be quite interesting to see which will have the upper hand here. The Beetle already showed itself quite competent last night, and now Sean is going to go on his first flying lap for this qualifying session, and we'll see if he can carry on with the same momentum that Windy stopped with.
We'll see. Through turn 1, has to correct there coming off of the exit. A little bit of opposite lock, trying to get the power down. You can't afford to be too greedy here with this Volkswagen. Up the hill now to Eau Rouge Radion. Small flick left, hard right as the tyres will squeal, and a couple little corrections as the car starts to fight its way for grip. The best way to know how good your steering is, there's a nice little blue bar on the top of the steering wheel. That denotes which way's up, over at 258 kilometers an hour for smashing down on the brakes. And that's key, actually, compared to what we were looking at earlier on, compared Volkswagen to Volkswagen, because that is a pretty much a 4 kilometer an hour difference coming up the hill. And it's worth talking about this as well. These are baseline setups. They're not got any opportunity to change the way that they're running. That is literally just a difference in driving style, which sees those times slightly different in terms of your kilometers per hour.
Yeah, and of course, the most that you can make out of these corners overall is, taking as much momentum through the corner as possible, steering as little as possible, and just hoping for the best. And I see that here as we get on board with Sean. He seems to put quite a lot of steering input in, and while that does work for the cornering grip for him here, I think, as you hear the tires squeal there, I think that over the race distance, that might be one thing which the others might have to look out for, because, of course, the tire wear is ×9 in these races, so it's going to be very hard for him to keep those soft tires in one piece if he keeps going like that for his entire race.
It's worth noting as well just how clean these races have been. We haven't seen too many major incidents happen. Any contact or spin have been solo car or 2-car incidents over the course of racing. So on the brakes into the final chicane comes along Sean, looking to try and set the first time on the board. What is the benchmark for car 53? Looking to make a run over towards the line. The answer is 220.3, so that's quite telling. Zelinu up onto a 218.8. That's suddenly beaten, though, by Excel onto a 218.3, so that's the quickest time on the board at the moment. Charles goes third. Drivers looking to try and find their times right now, so 222s and a 218.5 comes in from Blue Body there, moving up into second place. So Porsche at the front, and it's not much of a gap here. It's 0.2 of a second that XL has at the front of this field right now.
Yeah, and it was quite a clean lap as well. Almost 0.2. That is, it's beatable, but of course it's still quite a big gap if you look into motorsport standards. He's looking down the inside. Bit of a punt. I think he didn't expect him to slow down that much there. And yeah, of course, he's a good boy. lets Sean back through, or lets him stay in front and slows down a little bit to apologize there. So a lot of respect in these races, of course. And yeah, Blue Body, I think he won't let himself just sit in second place there. I think he definitely wants to go for pole, and we said this yesterday already in the race. It's 1.5 seconds between every position in the rolling start, and with Windy, that can quickly escalate into 2 seconds or more. And I think Blue Body, having probably seen the race yesterday, he probably won't want that to happen. So he's going to try his best to get that lap together, and just runs a little bit wide there out of Puon.
Well, if he was flashing the lights as much as he was, instead of finding turns, then that would have made life a little bit easier there for that cornering. But XL currently fastest in terms of the times at the moment. Blue Body in second, Zelinu in third, and Charles in fourth position at this point in time. So we're expecting those times to start dropping down as drivers find more and more. And what's key about XL right now at this point, you can see there as he goes through, just that left rear fender, the right rear fender on the vehicle there. Just a little bit of damage that is there, it seems. So that's not going to be ideal. It's going to dive down into the pits, going to get some tyres and get back out again. And these animations are absolutely fantastic right now. And I have very seldom seen more realistic looking men going to work when it comes to these sorts of games. And of course, there's a whole lot that comes in. You can see the tyres change. They're going to get themselves on with the gun to get the lug nuts off. And away they go. And that is a little bit cheeky there to go through Jean-Luc like that. But back out on track with cars in front.
Yeah, right behind Dankart, who actually did do this run on medium tires, so that'll be quite interesting to see. Now we're seeing Gelino, though. He's right in third place, only half a second behind XL. So, the Audis are really just, showing their teeth at the Porsche in front right now. And I don't think that they'll be the ones to actually let off. We've seen the Audi be strong here a lot of times before. Even last night, it wasn't going for the win, but they were still fighting for positions 2, 3, and 4. And this consistent performance, apparently it's a quite good car to get along with. So many people have been driving it, so many people have been getting along with it well.
Absolutely, they have. And of course, you can be a driver or can be a sim racer even when it's so simple to do. Pick up the likes of Gran Turismo Sport for, say, any platform that you want. And you can go out there and you can start to get into sim racing and learn and understand just how brilliant all of the various events that go on around the world and on the virtual sphere can be time and time again. So, someone I want to keep in mind, driver in 6th position right now. Haven't really had too much conversation to talk about at this point in time as Zelinu makes his way through the right-hand bend there of Curva Paul Frere to go on through. You can have so many different ways to join when it comes to World Pro Racing. There are more events than just on PlayStation 4. There's a lot of events that go on PC if you want to stay in the loop. But Dave Potsy in 6th position is doing well. Jean-Luc is down in the pits, qualifying on the hard compound side. That's interesting to go through. But Dave Potsy here, one of the Beetle drivers, 2 of them in this field here today. Currently 2:22, the fastest lap at the moment. And the key is already 4 seconds off of what's needed to be quickest behind Jean Varro out on track, on the brakes, the right and the left coming up right now, and that is a very late decision to come down onto the lane.
Yeah, I think he saw his time going down a little bit there, and it really did seem like a last-minute decision, probably just seeing that he kind of messed up the braking point and instead opting to go for new tires instead. Just, it's sometimes a little bit unplanned, but luckily it's not like real life where the pit crew will then be completely overwhelmed. The pit crew here is always ready to work, as we saw earlier. And if you mess up your lap, sometimes it's the smartest idea with the limited time that they have in this session, only 15 minutes, go for a last-minute dive into the pit lane, get yourself some new tires, and maybe try again with a new set if you have the time.
Exactly. If you haven't already, like, share, subscribe, retweet, do whatever you need to do to World Pro Racing, and of course our partners of TVM Sport and Motorsport.tv, as well as Game Breakers Malta. Every winner in this series will get a set of Game Breaker Malta headphones, and they will be fantastic for all of these drivers to try and get themselves going forward with. XL currently top of the timing sheets, 2:18.3. The time to beat at the moment. Blue Body, they're in second position in the Audi, heading down Bruxelles corner, their turn number 10. Sorry, no, that's not quite right. But there is Blue Body making a way on through as everybody looks to try and get those times in on the sheet. So, we'll see where those second laps come in. And this was something we're talking about. We're already down to just 3 minutes in qualifying. You feel you've got to be out on track in the next minute or so to have a really strong run when it comes to this qualifying. You only get maybe 1 run, 2 runs, maybe 3 runs maximum to get yourself out lap, fast lap, in lap on such high degradation for soft compound tires.
Yeah, it's definitely not something where you can allow yourself to make a lot of mistakes, and I think that is some of the pressure that these boys all here can feel right now. And that is someone who just went...
Salinu.
Yeah, that is... Oh, that's the other Porsche! So, you know, the Audis not really flashing their teeth at the Porsches, but the Porsches flashing their teeth at the Audis.
That is a 17.5 to go fastest. Salinu now down to 8/10 of a second. 6/10 of a second behind at the moment. And 18.1 there at this point in time. So Salinu did find pace. And there goes Blue Body up to second on a 17.8. So the times are improving as drivers get themselves out and away and getting themselves moving forward. So Blue Body, little flash of the headlights. They're going on through. Hello, there's a camera there. But there you can see the gap just under 1/10 of a second. You can't get it much tighter to under 1/10 of a second than that. But it's XL who's got the time in the pocket. Blue Body's got 2 laps available, but crucially cannot come in and make that stop. There's no escape, so to speak. You can't virtual this one away in qualifying. You effectively have to drive all the way back to pits.
So yeah, quite close to real life, as you would say. And only 1 minute 46 left now. This is going to be, you know, one last run. If you have the fuel in it, good for you. Maybe you can do something with the warm tires. But if not, you know, just end your qualifying a little bit early there. And that would, of course, be the not so optimal result in the end. XL, at the meantime, you know, he seems completely unfazed. 1/10 behind him is the next Audi. But I think, you know, he's not worrying about it too much because he could just improve by quite a lot earlier. And I think this is actually, you know, some of the fastest times that we've seen from a Porsche so far.
Exactly, and this is going to be key about drivers picking up time upon time upon time. This is Salinu in 3rd position, going through Blanchemont corner, looking now towards the chicane with less than a minute to go now on the clock, on the brakes. Right, left is the chicane layout that they go on through, and that is qualifying over for Salinu straight into the pits then. We're out of fuel, trying to get the runs. XL feels like he's going to be quicker, so what's this going to be over the line? Is there going to be any semblance of improvement? And the answer to that one is a hard no. So this will be the final attempt. There's half a second's worth of penalty for Blue Body, so if there's going to be any opportunity to get this lap back in the books, it's going to have to be now, as Sean currently goes 5th on a 2:20.1. So improvements for Sean. Charles there in 4th position runs wide, so this lap's not going to really count for very much at all. But ultimately, Sean now pushing himself up into 5th position then in this qualifying. 4 seconds, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Flags out. Checkered flag, that is, out on this one. So drivers who are in are now not going to be able to get those laps back working again. So Nicholas, final stages here. It's all about who gets to the line.
Yes, and you could see XL just very, very tightly taking these lines there, absolutely on point. You know, just barely touching the bollards on the inside. Look at that steering input. He's very determined to take these corners as quickly as possible. a little bit wide there, misses a bit of the inside curb, but is completely on the outside curb, takes as much momentum out of it as possible as he goes into P1 now, down to 4th gear, holds a tight line, lets himself get carried out on the outside curb in the middle and back to the inside for the second half of the corner. Very nicely done, up into 5th gear, and now this should be down to 3rd gear as he goes, and 2nd even. As he now goes through the left-hander, gets himself carried out completely on the right side curb, very nicely. That's a very, very clean line. I don't know if it will be faster, you know, because sometimes the lane can just look so nicely and you're thinking this is going to be a stunner lap, but sometimes the tire wear has something to talk about with that.
Exactly, and you can see the lights of the camera instead of a rear view mirror. That's a very GTE sort of thing to have in this Porsche 911 RSR, classified as Group 3 here on the brakes into the right-left chicane. The final chicane. Is there any chance to just move on a little bit quicker here for XL? Short run to the start-finish line, of course, and over it goes, and there is no improvement on that lap time, so it stays at the moment. There is Blue Body, who of course was down in the pit, so will not improve on that time. So Linu crosses the line but cannot find anything more, and it is the top 3 at the moment who have a clear gap, 1.6 seconds to Charles in 4th position at the moment. So XL, it seems, with everybody else across the line, may just have pole position wrapped up under lock and under key at this stage, and we'll be seeing that in the next 25 seconds. Qualifying will be coming to an end. Everybody should be over the line at this point, so we will be moving over to the race in just a moment's time, where we will see XL on pole position, Blue Body in 2nd, Zelinu 3rd, Charles in 4th, Sean in 5th, Dave Pottsy in 6th, then you got John Varro in 7th, and Dankart in 8th position over all of this. And it's been such a great run. Qualifying officially ended 9th is Gianluca here for the 9 drivers who'll be taking over towards the race. You can see right now, and how important will this be as they line themselves up on the run towards the final chicane. The flashing lights going through, the yellow bulb headlamps indicating GT3 spec for the Porsche 911 RSR, but it is a trio of Audis behind that will be looking to try and pick up the result compared to the lone Porsche at the front of this field. If XL can hold on and pick up a win, it will be the 3rd different manufacturer in 3 races that will pick themselves up. This is completely automated, the way that they get themselves ready. There'll be a timer coming down on the leader's call. 3, 2, 1, and race 3 is underway. XL with that 1.5 second gap, full power as drivers look to try and get themselves going, using all of the track in the background there. I believe that would have been Dave Pottsy running slightly wide, but through turn 1, no real dramas here from the 9 that's gone through, and only 8 have taken it seen to the start as they push on forward. XL in control at the front, but no real surprises. The Audis will be chasing for 15 laps and what is expected 2 stops.
I think we're going to have a bit of a closer fight for the lead here. As we could see just now, the gap was shrinking a little bit from Blue Body to XL. But Zelinu is also trying to keep pace with the car in front. And it's Charles and Sean very close together. That Beetle is really roaring with its engine. Looks to the inside, Follicum, and gets the braking done properly. But a bit of contact there. Runs a little bit wide. And Charles has to slow down quite a bit there over the tarmac runoff.
We're getting a replay here for you, ladies and gentlemen. You can see it right now. Just a bit deep goes Sean, and Charles trying to pinch onto that inside. It's so easy to get it wrong, and ultimately he ends up on the wrong side of the battle. Crucially, though, does not get any penalty in terms of infringement, as Dave Pottsy there in 6th position. The other one of those drivers runs very wide coming through that section. It's immediately under pressure from the BMW, and there's half a second for track limit extension out on this place. And Gran Turismo Sport certainly does not care who you are, what you are, where you are, and what you're driving. It is all about here in terms of this system of penalising. A case of if you run wide, it doesn't matter by an inch, it doesn't matter by a mile. If you run over, gain an advantage, you are going to get penalised.
Yes, that is always the case here. Complete consistency with those penalties. And now we see 7th place already looking into Paul Frère, and Dan Card is falling a little bit back. If this is within, you know, the time loss that he expected with the medium tires, we don't know. We don't know how much the other cars will slow down, but we also don't know how much Dan Card will slow down with the more his medium tires wear. And we just see Dave Pottsy go very wide there over the runoff. I think that might be another slowdown. But no, he's actually serving a slowdown there quite nicely. And John Varro is thinking better of having a look into the chicane.
Well, it's very easy to serve on the outside, and that wide line, John Varro very happy to sit behind. The gap already up to nearly 3 seconds for Excel at the front of the field. There is Blue Body in second, and look at Zelinu there in 3rd place in the pretty pink, what is to be said, Porsche. And out of the race then goes Sean. So Sean out of this one then from what was the fight going on for 6th place, 5th place actually at that time. So out from 4th even as I get things going on. That is not ideal at all. So Sean is out of this race very early after 1 lap running through. There's John Varro now promoted up into 6th position. We're down to 7 runners at this stage, and it seems for the time being that Varro has work to do. 1.2 seconds behind Dave Pottsy. There is 9/10 of a second of slowdown for going a little bit too far for Blue Body. And what we have seen from that Audi is it struggles later on in the stint here at that corner there, and there was just a little twitch through Jackie Hicks, and that would have been a little bit concerning for Blue Body.
Yeah, most definitely. We saw Simiana have very good performance through there, but then making the similar mistake not once, not twice, but 3 times. And, you know, it just seemed to get worse more and more the more he made that mistake. So, you know, maybe that's something the Audis will have to look out for in this race, and that Dave Pottsy might be able to, you know, quite nicely gain on.
Well, that's the key, but through this middle sector, it is John Varro using the BMW's grunt and making it close up to the Beetle here slightly wide, going through the right-hander of Stavolo, and that can very easily mean that time does start to askew away over the course of the racing that they have going on. So now what can John Varro do to close up? Excel here going on towards lap 3, and we're expecting 5 laps here in terms of a stint, and there is Blue Body. Still hasn't served any of that penalty, 9/10 of a second, but Zelinu you can see here, as I believe we are going to go on board at some point in time. They can see on the front there as we now change over towards the driver eyes perspective. Moving on forward, 2/10 now served on the penalty, but Zelinu knows that penalty will be served in pretty much a click of the fingers. So up the hill they'll come along once again, and you're going to get no balance of performance advantage going up here, because of course this is Audi on Audi action.
Yes, definitely. It's you know, the same car as he collects a penalty there. I was fearing that as I saw his line. A little bit too aggressive on the left side coming out of Radion, but of course we still have plenty of time to deliver that penalty, and Zelinu is actually gaining a lot on Blue Body now, because Blue Body is actually deciding to serve most of this penalty here, I think. But he's still up at 0.7. So, you know, Zelinu is really trying to show what we missed yesterday with him getting the no-no from that power out that he had.
And into that 3rd position, trying to chase this down, 2/10 of a second. The difference on penalty at this point in time. The way you can serve it here in Gran Turismo is by going, well, that was a little slow it looked like from Charles there, going out of Bruxelles corner. Dave Pottsy, though, in 5th, is looking at John Varro behind in 6th place. The gap 1.1 seconds between those two, as that gap between 2nd and 3rd remaining stagnant at this point in time, heading on through, and that pit stop window opening very, very soon in terms of these drivers. They're already 3 laps, or nearly 3 laps, through their racing, and it's expected to stop soft, the quickest way to get themselves going as they move on forward there. That was a little bit sideways from Blue Body, and ultimately holds it there. We're going to get a look here on replay here at Blue Body trying to go through there. You can see just coming off the curb really aggressively there was Blue Body, and that's never ideal.
Yeah, the Audi, of course, with the mid-engine car, it's a little bit more twitchy on direction change sometimes, especially at corner exits, as we have those two touching a little bit. Maybe getting a little bit too close for comfort there, boys. But they keep it clean side by side here, going down the front straight now into La Source, and both of them still have penalty to serve. But for this move, that is very far inside, and we can see how much of a better launch Blue Body actually got out of La Source from that. But they're still side by side, and Zelino actually might make this work. Really impressive there, and they're side by side still through Radion. Oh, that's a big crash.
That's a huge one for Blue Body, hard into the tyres. They're up at Radion, and that was the key. Side by side, the smallest bit of contact between the two of them, and it's a hard head-on contact there from a 360 pirouette. Moving forward, Zelino there into second, Blue Body still going in third place, and through all of this, Charles has pitted here on lap number 4 and is down in the 7th position. This could be a 3-stop strategy that we could be seeing, but XL will not mind too much. 8 seconds now, the gap at the front of the field for the Porsche, and it's looking like it's going to be a trio of same old stories unless something truly dramatic happens in the late stages.
Yeah, this was probably what XL was hoping for, and the next big moment out of Jackie X for an Audi. Zelino, just after having this big moment with Blue Body, now actually looking quite skittish on his rear.
It happens just like that when it comes to that corner. So Zelino there in second, 17 seconds now ahead of a Blue Body here as Dankart and Pozzi. They have changed positions, so Dankart now up into 5th place. Dave Pozzi back down into 6th overall. But look, this is not over and done with here as Dave Pozzi tries to close right up behind, little bit wider of a line, trying to open up this second part of the double apex left. And it has certainly worked. You can see a whole lot more steering angle coming in from Dave Pozzi. It's almost like turning in squares at the moment from Dave at this stage because it's not really fluent. It's sort of just driving it a little bit hot, a little bit deep, and just like that, pushing wide. That could be another half a second of penalty that could be coming up in the next few moments. And on cue, there it is.
Yeah, quite frustrating if you get penalties like that, but then again, you also still have a lot of time to deliver those. Now John Varro up into 3rd place. He was just flying away there. Now got past Blue Body as well, so I think there might be a little bit of, even if it's not big, car damage, it might be a bit of confidence damage for Blue Body.
Well, we'll see here. We're on lap 4 of this event. So there's Jean Varro going on through and straight into the pits. Damage most likely then for Blue Body coming down in, getting the stop, then going forward. Will drop all the way back down to the back of the pack. With this one, it's going to be a long road of recovery here for the last 11 laps of his event here today. And what is something that hasn't really been talked about is terms of race distance. It's a 7-kilometer track, and roughly here today, when they're driving around right now, Nicholas, it's going to be 105 kilometers that they'll be racing.
Yeah, so quite a distance to pull down in this short amount of time. But, you can just pull out this much of distance when you don't have traffic to worry about, like in normal civilian traffic. Zelino very sideways again, and now we have it's Charles on his way back after his pit stop, going past Dave Pozzi. No real resistance there. The straight line speed of that Audi is just really shining brightly here. And the new tires are helping as well, I think.
Yes, old tyres versus new tyres. You've stolen my points entirely. Dave Pozzi on 0.0 in terms of penalty just needs a little bit more to serve between now and the end of the race. But it's Charles, very aggressive actually on that stop. There's Dankart in 4th position. But the key is that it's Charles came down in and made that stop on lap 3 of the event. Now, that says to me that it's very clearly going to be a 3-stop strategy. Otherwise, if you're going to pit every 3 laps, that's a 4-stop, and you're talking territory of pitting for just the sake of pitting.
Yeah, that is also quite true here. And now we have the leader heading into the pit lane for his normally scheduled pit stop, as we all expected. Pit crew looking very nicely fitted out in the same color scheme as the car, as he now heads in. And soon we should see the others heading in as well. That's Gelino coming in there. And John Varro should be heading in soon as well.
Well, you can see it's a long, long wait to John Varro. 26 seconds, the gap between second and third place at the moment out on track. It's a two-horse race, and what's key is the numbers drivers are going to fuel their car up to. Only filling the car up to 5-6 worth of the tank is Excel. In comes John Varro from third place, so clearly not wanting to run on a full tank of fuel. And it's Charles moving up now into second place with all of that. Dankart staying on the medium compound tyre, of course, starting with the tyre compound that you run with to move on through this race. That gives a little bit more security. John Varro, long wait there on the stop as well, but they can see Zelinu back out and away in second, just ahead of it, Charles, with Blue Body in fourth position after the stop. So nice and neat on the run through, but already half a second's worth of penalty for Zelinu to now try and serve on his own. 13 seconds behind Excel, 11 seconds ahead of its Charles.
And that's actually quite interesting here. Dankart just changed from mediums to soft tires. So maybe during that first stint he realized, I'm not going to get that far with these tires. And Dave Potts actually doing the exact opposite, going from softs to medium tires now.
It seems like everybody thinks they've got it all sorted. So different compounds going on forward. Dave Potsy, remember, was struggling on that soft moving backwards, so maybe the medium has a little bit more confidence in it for the moment. Currently down at the back of the field in 7th position, nearly a minute behind your race leader at the moment on lap 6 out of 15. Here at this point in time. There is Excel heading through Stavolo corner pull Frere coming up as well. This is an outlap for the 2017 spec version of the Porsche 911 RSR. Making a great run at the moment is Excel. It's been the same story in the first two races to this one in the third. Leader breaks away, leader has nothing to worry about, and we have not seen a single mistake from Excel at this point in time. And well, you can word it any other way you want. You can even put it on a PowerPoint if you need to. Excel is flying.
Nice little wordplay there with all the Microsoft Office programs soon being, present there. Maybe we'll get next week. We'll get a starter named Word, but just to fulfill the entire thing. But yeah, Axel has really been, just flying away here. He's been profiting off the mistakes and duels, of course, of the people behind him. But it certainly helps just being consistent like no other. And Zelino at the same point, he had his little ups and downs. He had some time that he didn't get past Blue Body. But I think in that move, even if, it didn't work out so well for Blue Body in that situation, it really helped Zelino finally, find his center and just keep going. Meanwhile, it's Charles with his very early stop. I'm still quite interested to see how he will actually turn out in this race, because after 3 laps, the stop is insanely early. We've only seen that before, like yesterday. So with that, we had actual, I think, 3 or 4 stop in the end. So quite interesting to see where he will turn out in this race.
Gap's coming down, though, to Blue Body behind. It's down to 3.8 seconds between those two at the moment. 2 laps difference on the tyres. There is Blue Body in the other Audi trying to push away through, so that's going to be key. So what do you think, ladies and gentlemen, right now, if we do another race with the top 2 of every race as a final here with all of these drivers? That would put 10 cars in a final, and there would be a grand winner overall for these casual races. Let us know in the comments of YouTube, of Facebook Live, of Twitch, if that is something that you want to see, be it with World Pro Racing or, of course, on motorsport.tv, and, of course, on TVM Sport. If you're having a good watch of this, it's been some sensational racing that we've seen so far. Excel there at the front of the field. He's done a 2:12.6 that last time by. Now, here's something to consider in terms of those lap times. A 2:12 going on through has been some incredible pace. But remember, it was a 2:18 that got pole position overall. So that is a huge distance, or difference even, I should say, between those who are racing in terms of qualifying trim compared to race trim. This is Zelinu right now making the push on through, and we're expecting it's Charles to come in probably this lap or next, as onto the 8th lap goes Zelinu at this stage in time. 0.0 on the penalty here to serve on the brakes through the right of turn number 1, La Source, and penalty all done and dusted.
And it's Charles is just now entering the front straightaway. 2:23, of course, he's been on his tires for quite a bit longer now, and that gap is coming down bit by bit, but that was, I think, a mistake coming out of the chicane there by Blue Body. So, you know, maybe it's Charles has a little bit more of a bit of a comfort zone here.
Used to be 3 seconds, the gap now 9 seconds. I wonder if we could maybe get a replay. It doesn't seem likely here, but Blue Body has made a mistake. We're actually going to get a replay here. We've just caught the fragments of it there. So right down there on the inside, it's an unnatural place to see the car there. So Blue Body has gone for a half spin of some sorts. The old tyres tend to do that on the Audi. You've got to be careful about putting the power down too early in these vehicles. So Blue Body, you can see right now, heading up the Camel Straight, looking for opportunity here to close back down the gap. But now all of a sudden, John Varro is there, 6 seconds, and there's a slide, and that's another 6-7 tenths that will be just chunked off there as John Varro makes his way through Lake Coombe into Malmedy.
Yeah, I think that Blue Body is under quite a lot of pressure here. After his accident, you know, we saw him head into the pits straight away. Of course, when you're spinning into a wall, the tire wear will be enormous, especially with ×9 tire wear considered. And yeah, I think him just pitting 1 lap afterwards and now pushing so much, I think that he might actually be wearing his tires quite a bit more than it's Charles at the front while he's trying to catch up to him. And yeah, of course, he's going to be very frustrated with that, but of course, under a lot of pressure, and I don't think that he will want to back down here as he comes sideways, skidding just into Pifab once again. And that's going to be a very, very tough race for him to run, I think.
Exactly, you can see the gap there. 45 seconds between first and fourth. There's Excel, currently at front, 2:18 there going on through. That's a representative lap. Then in terms of time, that 2:12, of course, being an out lap there coming out of the pit. So here for Excel, this is going to be crucial. 15 seconds over Zelinu, and not looking backwards, it seems, at this point in time. We're going on towards lap 9, and surely the tank here for It's Charles has to be looking somewhere close to empty, and in comes It's Charles at the end of lap number 8. That's a 5-lap stint after coming in at the end of lap number 3, so expect this one to be with 1 more stop between now and the end for Charles. He had 0.1 of a penalty as well to go and serve. Soft tyres, no surprise. Blue Body's going to come in on the same strategy call as It's Charles, so it's going to be a case of converting from a 2 to a 3, it seems, for Blue Body, for 4, 4, 4 and a 3 from now to the end. Seeing the fuel go into these vehicles now. It's the weight. There we go. Off and away goes Blue Body. Those two will be now 4th and what is 6th representative now. Blue Body jumping ahead of Dave Potsy by a whole stop. But Nicholas, there's Dave Potsy having a big slide, saving it well though.
Yeah, he's been having a bit of a difficult race here. Just as you see the car just, you know, completely sideways out there again. I felt like the car is slumping a bit down on the right side though, so I think that might be a little bit of damage on his car, and he has been taking corners a little bit, you know, quite a bit more tightly than the others. So maybe an unknown problem that he is fighting with as well, but yeah, maybe also just the VW not completely suiting his taste, as we see It's Charles again, just going down on his penalty, having 0.0 left, and now being right in front of Dan Cart, who of course started the race on the medium tyres here.
Yep, and he gets a whole bit of overcutting on the inside through Jackie Ick's corner. That's not ideal, but what is key is that It's Charles is effectively 4th on the road right now, with both himself and, of course, John Varno. They're having to stop twice more in this event, or sorry, once more even in this event. So keep an eye on that gap. It's around 8 seconds at the moment, and that's what Charles is trying to pull in with lap on lap on lap in terms of pace. There's Dankart there taking a very, very slow run here through the right, because here comes Blue Body on the fresh rubber. Audi versus Audi at the moment. We're going to look from behind here at this one, as Blue Body, you can see, chasing up with so much more available from that grip. You can see moving over to the right-hand side, down the inside here as they head towards Blanchimont corner, and side by side they go through, leaning on each other through. Dankart's going to get the short end of the stick here, trying to save it, but finds tyres right away.
Quite unfortunate for him here. We see it here again in the replay. Maybe just a bit too much of a move over there. Well, actually, I think Dankart tried to turn in a little bit too early there. Just, you know, not quite anticipating our man on the inside to be, you know, to stay outside for so long. But of course, on the inside, you still have to worry about the curb. If you hit that too hard, especially I imagine in the Audi, since we saw that to be a bit more of a nervous car than, for example, the Beetle, maybe just misjudged that a little bit too much, and sadly he paid the price for it.
Has dropped back down to the bottom of the field in 7th place behind Dave Potsy there, so that's going to mean for Dankart not ideal in terms of the way that his race has been going, battling with a car quicker than him, going through Blanchimont. And sometimes it's that little bit of racecraft, that nuance to get yourself out of a situation like that. Yes, you do love to battle against other drivers. That's one of the reasons why drivers love racing. But at the same time, you have to remember that someone like Dankart was not racing for position. Blue Body, his race leader, comes in from lap number 10, and there goes Dankart into the tyres again.
I think he just really is kind of lost out of his groove now, trying to get a lot of pressure into just, you know, to find back into it, to find more speed again. But you could see that slide coming from the apex of the corner already. He was off the racing line, just a little bit into the marbles, and that damage is not going to be pleasant to drive with.
Absolutely not. Zelinu also in from 2nd position, just waiting on this one to go. Out and away goes Excel. Here are the tyres then that Zelinu's going to be putting on. All men have their hands up and saying we're ready, just on the fuel it is, and Excel already gone into the distance. There is Jean Varro in 3rd place. Remember, he's fighting with it, Charles. That gap, which was 9 seconds about a lap and a half ago, is already down to 2.3. So Jean Varro really being closed down. This is for position, mind you, right now. Jean Varro needs to come down in and make a stop. Will do so. Will have the advantage on the tyres when he comes back out again, because it's Charles is going to be on those older soft in comparison. This is where you get the trade-off coming in. It's Charles now needs to put those quick times on the board to get back into 3rd place.
And also we have to think, because it's Charles actually has to pit 2 more times, if we are correct here. So it's going to be quite interesting to see. Or actually, I think only 1 more time as well,
yeah, one more.
Isn't it? Yeah, sorry. Me completely getting it wrong there. But yeah, 1 more pit stop for it's Charles, of course, as well. So we're going to see, you know, like how much he can actually make it work. Dave Potsy into the pits now as well, and I'm going to look out for if he actually stays on the mediums, or, you know, gets new mediums, or maybe just changes back to the soft tires.
Looks like new mediums to me. As he sits, he waits, and he'll look to go in just a moment's time there. The fuel going into the vehicle, and off and away he goes with... Oh, sorry, he's gone onto the soft now, so almost a full tank onto the soft tyre. Dankart comes in as well, so Potsy going for soft, medium, soft in terms of the way that his race is running. There is Dankart, bottom of the field right now, and this could be a case of going a lap down at this stage compared to XL. The gap 2:09 to the race leader, but you can see here, there is XL, who will be heading through the final chicane. 18 seconds clear now at the front. The gap, or should we say the record at the moment in these casual races, was up at 30 seconds come the end. So there is XL, who is going to be just behind right now Dankart on track in terms of trying to get a lap in the books, and it seems like there is a lot of space on this circuit. There is Zelinu in second position overall. Little slide going through, trying to pick everything up, but it's all about now consolidation between now and the end of the race for the majority of these drivers, Nicholas.
Yes, of course, it's going to be quite quite a drive of consistency now. You have to think it's not just driving just normally to the end now. They have a bigger gap in between them, but still you have to finish these runs. And we saw earlier already how easy you can make a mistake in these cars, how easy you can make a mistake around this track, and how hard your pace can be impacted by it. So 30 seconds even, that divide Zelinu and its Charles at the moment. 30 seconds can be gone in a flash. We saw 9 seconds go down to 2 seconds in just a lap earlier. And I think that's going to be something that we're going to have to keep in mind as well. Yeah, you can only finish first if you finish, if you first finish the race.
Exactly, and there is Charles going very aggressively over that left-hand part of the chicane, and just like that, an extra second gets tacked on from 3/10 of penalty. It's now 1.3 seconds worth of penalty. That's going to be tough to hold on. The gap is 4 seconds between himself and Blue Body at the moment, both of whom need to stop one more time in this race, and they should be on course to do so on the end of this lap. So Blue Body, trying to get the bit between your teeth. You need to close that gap down to at least within a second. I expect that the penalty will not necessarily be served between now and the end of the race, but would be administered post-race with any penalty that goes on. Charles just has to keep a gap.
And for Charles, it's going to be very difficult, I think, because Blue Body did seem to have just better pace all around at the moment. And you see it's Charles actually taking a very tight line there, not taking a lot of momentum through on. And you can see that gap just going down and down and down there to Blue Body. And Blue Body really seems to be, quite confident in the car again. After this crash, we saw him going slow quite a bit, but I think he may have recovered from that. And I think he's now as confident as ever to go for that third place.
Gap down now to 2.5 seconds, 2.2, 2.1. All of a sudden, Charles is struggling on the tyres. They've hit their cliff as they go on through and will be due a stop. And if these two come in together at exactly the same time, this is going to be nose-to-tail stuff for the final spot on the podium between now and the end of this race. Excelling complete control. Zelinu in second, but the battle for third. And remember Gianvaro as well, who's not going to be a million miles away from this one, depending on the pace. Charles struggling, of course, on the tyres. Gianvaro on new ones. Blue Body stays out for an extra lap, but Charles will come in here on lap 12 to make that stop. So that's where we see the change in terms of who's doing what. Charles needs the tyres to work for him, and he'll have 3 laps to get it going. But there is Gianvaro in the BMW M6, trying to make that push with M-Power all over it now, trying to move on forward. This is going to be a close little scrap. Out of the lane will come it's Charles, and has clearly jumped Gianvaro, who at the moment is staring at 5th. He's lost 8 seconds on top of the 2-second margin he had ahead, 10 seconds in 2 laps.
Yeah, that is, I think, quite a testament, even though that Charles has been, well, with this very off-handed strategy, I think it shows quite a lot how well he gets along with the Audi. Gianvaro maybe not pushing quite enough in this little time that he spent in between those stints that he hasn't seen at Charles, but at the same time we have Blue Body here just quite a bit ahead of its Charles now, and I'm actually quite excited to see how this plays out, how much Charles can actually get this gap down to Blue Body on this one lap that Blue Body spends on all tires. Just as Axel goes through the last chicane once again, comes out of the corner, very nice and tidy, no slides at all from him at the moment, and just starts one of the last laps around this circuit.
He's got 2 more to go. The gap is 22 seconds. Here to Zelinu, 21.9. It's effectively 22 seconds at the moment, but Zelinu has had nothing to match the Porsche around this place today. Blue Body is already a minute behind at this stage and due a stop in the next lap or so, and this is key. They talk about what makes a great driver great, and I would say that the one thing that all drivers have in common, they get the most out of their in-lap, they have a great stop, and then they try and get the most out of their outlap. It's that phase, those 2 to 3 laps, where it becomes so very, very vital to get this one working. Blue Body right now making the push over towards the chicane right now and hoping that this is going to work, but they can see it's Charles just behind, and Blue Body will go on for another lap's worth, but the gap down half a second, and in again goes it Charles, and he hits the wall trying to get himself in. So something not right. He didn't fill the car up enough.
Something went quite wrong there. I don't think that's how he actually planned to end this race, and John Varro is going to be laughing into his fist right now, because that would definitely explain the big gap that actually opened up between them during that pit stop. And 8 seconds, I was thinking in the back of my head, you know, maybe he gets along very, very well with that Audi, but 8 seconds is quite a bit.
Certainly is. Out and away goes Charles, back in 5th place, 0.1 of a second of penalty remaining, but 2 laps try and chase down 4.7 seconds worth of margin. The last lap will be starting in a moment's time for Excel. They're in the Porsche at this point in time. GT3 spec Porsche it is. You can tell with the yellow headlamps moving through Blanchimont corner and now towards that final chicane, the former bus stop, out on track. The gap is 23 seconds at the moment, where you can see all those marbles there through the corner where drivers have been pushing incredibly hard around this place. The last lap starts. Now, questions to remain. Does Blue Body come in for this stop? Surely he can't go one more lap without running out of fuel. This will be the ultimate splash and dash that we're seeing. And you can see the time at the moment, 1 minute, 10 seconds at the moment. It will be the very faintest little drop of fuel that will go in. Surely not enough for 12 seconds to be closed down by John Varro, unless there's mistakes from Blue Body, who knows that this has got to be absolutely flawless from this point on, moving on through. There is John Varro heading through this Fania chicane. The right, then the left, Piff, then Path, moving on forward. 1:23 off of the pace, and the gap to it, Charles, 3.6 seconds, so he's not closing quick enough. May do with the missed apex there from the BMW M6, so that could very easily come back into full fruition, and the penalty almost all served. It's 0.0 at the moment, so pretty much we're talking about hundredths of a second at this point for Charles just to slow down. There is Excel, who is going through Bruxelles corner into Jackie X and absolutely storming at this point in time, looking towards the double apex left of Pujon. Down the hill it is this section, but you've got so much room on that left-hand side, and of course that famous bit of contact at that part of track in 1998 between Michael Schumacher and David Coulthard happened there. By the looks of things, Blue Body is going to go on for one final lap. We'll keep an eye on that fuel gauge, but Excel doing well. There's Zelinu in second place, 51 seconds at the moment. The margin that is available here, and coming up on lap traffic, that is Dankart in 7th place. But through the right-hand corner of Curve Paul Frere, now looking towards the final sections of this road, Blanchimont corner awaits for Excel. The final true test of any driver is going through this high-speed left-hand bend where Commitment Plus, the subscription service to Commitment, is needed. On the brakes in towards the final chicane, and it is another case, and it's a triumphant trio of fantastic wins by landslide margins. Excel over the line does exactly what his name suggests. Excels with a 24-second margin to win this race outright. It will be a long wait for those coming up. Zelinu will be coming over the line in second position, and even further the gap will wait to the likes of Blue Body here, who may just be on the very, very limit of the fuel. There is Zelinu right now. There is the gap. It's now down to 8 seconds here to John Varro at this point in time. You can see how much work's being done, but look at the timer on the right-hand side as we've got ourselves Volkswagen, Audi, and Porsche, all with victories. 3 German manufacturers. There is Blue Body sliding through the corner and struggling, but here's the key. Look at the clock on the right-hand side. It's 30 seconds at this point in time. That's going to mean that there's going to be maybe not enough time to get over to the line, as Jean-Vara and it's Charles now started to fight. They almost swapped positions out on circuit. Look at them, nose to tail, as they will now make their way towards Blanchemont. But it's about who gets themselves ahead before the timer expires. They've got 10 seconds remaining here before this one is pretty much called in the book. So it's going to be a case of, can it be done at Blanchemont? It's Charles trying to go around the outside. 3, 2, 1, and out of time they go on the brakes. It's Charles down the inside, but will not get the place. Will not get the place as they go through. Victory is secured, Nicholas, by Excel.
Quite an excellent drive. I'm sorry, I really had to bring that one. But yeah, excellent drive from him. Really just no mistakes whatsoever from him. Pole position, led every lap of the race. And what else can you say? But well done. A really well done race from him. And yeah, quite cool to see our third different manufacturer in the third race of these racing series. But yeah, we also had a quite good race for all positions involved here. We had overtakes for basically every position except for P1 again. So yeah, and at the very end, it was quite interesting as well to see, well, Blue Body being basically, you know, running his car on fumes, and then, you know, just that desperate last moment lunge. But I don't actually think that got registered as a pass. And even if it did, I think there might be something to be said about that, as he cut across the inside AstroTurf there a bit.
Well, the key was that the timer expired before he could pick up the place, so it remains 5th place there in the end for It's Charles moving on forward. A massive thanks, of course, to everybody who has helped with the production of this one here today, from George Muscat and Adrian Fagayo, the Chief Race Director and Chief Steward, part of the Malta Motorsport Federation they are, and FIA accredited stewards, from Justin and Nathan Mivsud, who have been on the cameras for this one, from Nicholas Hillebrand on my left-hand side. I've been Jake Sperry. You've been watching on Motorsport TV, on TVM Sport, on World Pro Racing's YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitch as well, for some Gran Turismo racing. And there'll be some headphones going the way of one Mr. Excel from Game Breaker Malta. But what was key was it was another runaway. It was another case of nobody could catch him if they could. But Week 4 will be coming up in 1 week's time. Will the story continue to stay the same way, or will there be a change of pace? Potentially, where we have a number of drivers getting themselves up close and personal. We'll see in a week's time who has what it takes at Spa-Francorchamps. This event is brought to you by World Pro Racing, the Malta Motorsport Federation, Game Breaker Malta, GMR Entertainment, WJ England and Son, Melita, Media Looks, Restream.io, Gaming Malta, VisitMalta.com, and TVM Sport.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.